Adam Small here again from MyMusicMasterclass, and today we have yet another review for you. We were sent this FB200, which this is just the box, but it's right here, plugged in and ready to go. This is a bass multi-effects processor from FLAMMA. So FLAMMA is a new company to us, meaning that we've never reviewed a FLAMMA product before. But before we do it, let's do the disclaimer, which we always do on this channel. FLAMMA sent us this FB200 in exchange for the video review that you're watching right now. But they didn't tell us to say anything, coach us in any way, and we always are unbiased on this channel, so we're gonna say it like it is. So what is the FB200? Well, it's a tiny multi-effects unit for bass guitar. It's obviously very light and very portable. You can see it on the overhead camera here, what's going on. You have different lights that change. I will explain all this in a minute, but this thing is rechargeable, which is interesting, right? But it's also rechargeable via USB-C, so 5 volts of power. This isn't a 9-volt pedal. Now, I charged it up fully before we started here. About 2.5 hours to full charge. I think it's a quick charge. They claim 6 hours of battery life once it's charged. So, you know, I'm sure we're not gonna be here for 6 hours, but we'll see how it performs. So in the front of this unit, you can see that we have 2 1/4-inch cables. Input and output makes sense. You put your bass in, you get your bass out into either an amp or, in my case, a sound card because we're making a video. You also have a stereo headphone out here. Lastly, you have the USB-C port and an on and off switch. Also, this USB-C port has OTG functionality, so on the go, which means that you can plug this thing in as a sound card to your device or computer. Before I continue, I want to say that I have 2 studio cats here, and one of them really wants to get in here. But if he comes in, he's going to destroy everything. So if you hear any meows like that, it's Pony. So when I opened this thing yesterday, it came in this box, right? I opened it up, I got this unit out, and there was no manual. Now, I'm very good at tinkering and figuring things out, and I got a lot of answers just by messing with this thing. But I feel like this review will not only be a review, but also helpful probably for people that purchase this and don't know how to use it yet. Technically, the FB200 came with this tiny manual, but it just described what the buttons were really, and you know, the power requirements and stuff like that. It didn't really tell you how to do anything on the pedal. It was like a 1-pager. Now, I do think that FLAMMA should include a better manual with this product because a lot of people are going to be confused when they receive it and they're not really gonna know how to do anything. That being said, I'm gonna show you right now what I figured out. The first thing that you're gonna wanna do is download the FLAMMA app, okay? That's pretty much the secret to all this. But first, I will show you just an overview of the top of this thing and what it kind of does. You'll see it says P5A. That just means we're in preset 5A. And you can obviously save to these and modify your presets and make them whatever you want. I can go up to preset 5B, which I can assign to B here, right? And then I can make 5C and 5D over here. And essentially, you would have 4 options for, like, let's say you programmed it for a song and you wanted 4 different sounds for that song. You can put them on, you know, A, B, C, and D here and click them when the appropriate section of the song comes up. Now, most of what I'm gonna be showing you right now is not in preset mode, it's in live mode. So if we click these 2 together, it says L now, see? That's live mode. And now we can kind of go through the sections here freely without a preset and just mess with them so I can show you what everything does. So I'm gonna shut everything off. You see, when there's a light on, it means that section is on in this mode, in live mode. See, now nothing's on. One thing to note about this pedal is that it doesn't have true bypass. Would I have liked true bypass? Of course I would, but this pedal costs somewhere between $90 and $109 or something, depending on the sales. So yeah, I get it, you know, it's a cost-cutting thing. It's also a space-saving thing for them, and I'm gonna show you that in a minute, so I kinda understand why they didn't do it. Like I said, I love true bypass, but it is what it is. Now, like I said, we're in live mode, not preset mode now. So now, A is a reverb section, okay? B is a modulation section, so like chorus, phaser, tremolo, stuff like that. C is an amp section, so you know, amp simulations and cabinet simulations. And D is my compressor. And all the way at the end, you have a noise gate, which does not have a button, right? It just has this knob, meaning that all you gotta do, it's off because it's all the way to the left. Just by turning it a little bit, you see that it's flashing, it's activated. It has a tuner, so if you hold down these two, you get into tuner mode. I already used it to tune this bass, which I'm going to be using in this demonstration. And there's also a drum machine. I didn't mention this yet, but this unit has Bluetooth, right? So you could use your phone or any device with Bluetooth and send stuff to it, right? So like I send a backing track to this unit, listen in headphones, play along, take a drum loop from YouTube, from anything. All right, so now you're gonna see why you need the app, right? So this was me. I started playing with this thing yesterday and I was messing with all the functionality. And I checked out the drum machine, right? So in order to get to the drum machine on this unit, if you don't use the app, you gotta press these two and hold it. See? All right, so now I'm here and it says D. And if I wanted to change the banks, I can go like to 1 up to 40, right? So let's just say 1. Now this is play. Okay, so you can hear, it's just a standard, you know, 4/4 beat. Now out of the box, that was so loud, right? The drum machine was just cranking on 10. And no matter what I did to the bass, I couldn't get it to be even close to as loud as the drums. So I'm thinking, okay, I gotta turn down the drum machine. But there's no way to turn down the drum machine on the physical unit. So I was saying, wow, this is a product flaw because I'm not even able to turn this down. How am I gonna use this drum machine if it's twice as loud as the bass, no matter what settings I use on the bass? Because this master volume also adjusts, you know, the drums. So if I do that, the drums get louder too. Well, in the app, if you look down here, there's something that's called Tools. You click that, and now I'm in a full drum machine mode where I can actually not only tap the tempo, but adjust the volume level. And right now I have it at 1 instead of 10, which it was at, right? So I can do that. I can also adjust the patterns right from here and see what they are, you know, like it says, pop, blues, right? The numbers, all that stuff. Also, the tuner is easily accessible from here too. And you can see it. And now you can actually see how out of tune you are as opposed to just, you know, a simple interface on an LED screen. You can also adjust if you're tuning to 440 or something else. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using my modified Jaguar bass. It's a PJ configuration. It's short scale. I've got plenty of full scale basses around here, but I just modded this one with new pickups, and I did that in the last video that I did in this channel, if you want to check it out. And I'm just kind of into it because I've been playing it a lot. So we're going to do it on this because it's fun. So the first thing I have here, effect-wise, is reverb. And if you see here, all I have is level and reverb, okay? Reverb means the type of reverb, okay? So let's say, what's my level at? 40%, okay? That'll be enough to hear it. And this is the type of reverb. So it goes from 1 to 5, but it doesn't tell you what type, right? It just says 1 to 5. So let's just start with 1. Okay, so that's reverb 1. We'll move up. Reverb 2. Right, and I can obviously take the level down. Right, or all the way up. But instead of doing it on the unit, I want to show you why you want to do this on the app. Now, first of all, you can see here that on the bottom, I have a plate reverb, okay? Now, if I change it here on the unit, I'm changing it under the phone, so you're not gonna see it. See, it's gonna change. It's changes to spring and then mod. So you can actually see the names of these, right? You can click here and you can see what type of reverb you have, okay? And you can change it like this, which is a heck of a lot easier because you can actually see what you're doing. So watch this. If you click this tool, this wrench on the reverb, let's say we're in mod reverb, which we are, Now look what we have. Instead of just having reverb type, which is mod, and level, now I also have decay and tone options. So you can really make it cooler. You know, I mean, you can do a lot more with it, because just having a level and the type isn't really enough. Like, you want to have a decay, and having tone is definitely cool with this one. I'm choosing plate, and I am going to see what the level is all the way up. We're at 97. That's a lot. Let's take it down to like 25. Okay, tone. Take it all the way up. Lastly, we can mess with the decay, bring it all the way up. That's a lot of decay, right? Versus this. See how it dies? So we have the spring. Let's see what that does. Right? I can take the level down. I don't want to go through everything here, but we'll try the mod and see how weird it gets. Let's see what happens if I just make it crazy. 100% everything. All right, that's a lot. I went too far. Let's make the decay shorter. Let's try the back pickup actually. I'm not going to mess with all the reverbs because I think you get the idea. But this next section is mods, so modulation. Now this one right here says mod, so that'll be your type. Again, if we just do this, we get numbers. We get up to 12 this time, but it doesn't tell you what it is, right? And this is rate, and this is mix. That's all you have. But again, on the app, you have much more. So on the app here, it shows you exactly what everything is called. So let's start with the phaser. If I click the wrench, just like I did, which is the settings of this effect, on the app, you see that I have rate, mix, and depth, as opposed to just rate and mix. And depth's a big one, so that's important. Now I'm gonna use the P pickup on this bass just for fun. Okay, you can hear the rate is pretty fast, right? So I'm gonna turn that down. So it's less. Wah, 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 wah. Now I can make the mix crazy, 100%. Okay, or I can make it very subtle. Now let me make the mix higher and then the depth higher. That's cool. All right, let's move on. Step phaser, all right? Okay, I see what this is doing. Let's make the mix high so we can really hear it. All right, so this is like a tempo effect. You can do the rate and I'm sure it'll get faster and slower, right? Right, slower. Super fast. That's a little crazy. Okay, I get it. You know, that's a very specific effect if you want it. And if you're gonna match it to the tempo of your tune, I guess you just have to dial it in here. There's no tap tempo for this, so. Flange is up next. For this one I have feedback, rate, and mix. So feedback is the new one, the new parameter. There's my rate. It's getting, this is with rate all the way up. That's too nuts, so let's make it more musical. Slow it down. All right, this is pretty flangey, so let's see what this sounds like. Okay, that's a flanger. What's a jet flanger? That's the next one, a jet flanger. The feedback is high on this. It's like it was at 90, now it's at 60. I have the rate low. Let's check the mix. Tremolo. All right, I'm gonna ditch the pick. I have tone, mix, and rate. So tone is the new knob. I'll make the mix higher so that you can really hear this tremolo. Like at 83, I guess. Okay. What's the rate gonna be? Let's see. Okay, there it is. Next, this one's called stutter. Okay, that's extreme. And we have the same one, so tone is the new knob. I just put both pickups up to full gain, so my P and my J. Anyway, this is vibrato, and tone is the other knob, right? So rate, mix, and tone. Next up is rotary, and again, tone is the other knob that we have here on the app. All right, it's a little fast. The next is called Ana-chorus, which I believe is analog chorus. This one has 2 extra parameters on the app than on the unit, a tone and a depth. Let's check it out. Okay. All right, let's make the depth more crazy. Oh yeah. This one's called tri-chorus. Okay, that's pretty crazy already. Let's take this depth down. Obviously you can mess with all this. I'm moving on. The ring modulator is up next, which is always crazy. If you know ring modulators, they're always wild. So this is with everything around 40-ish. Obviously if I take the mix up, it'll be just insane. This is a 99 mix. Yeah, pretty wild. A little bit. All right, let's take the mix down to like 38%. Now, let's take the rate up. Obviously adjust the pitch of this ring modulator thing by doing that. Let's see if we can make something that's slightly less crazy by just taking the mix way down to like 10% or 11. Let's make it, let's do 17%. And I made 87% rate. Last but not least in the mod section is the Q filter. So the Q is at 70 right now. Okay, right, it's like an auto wah. All right, let's take the Q up to 100. And just take it down. So the Q is like the frequency of the wah, pretty much. All right, it's at 68 again. If I take the rate down, it'll be less fast. Right, less fast also, another word for that is slower. I just thought of that. A little back pickup. Next up is our amp section, right? Amps and cabinets. So if you click C here, you can get to this section. You can see you have cab, volume, bass, mid, treble, gain, and amp. The first thing you're gonna notice is that you can see amp and cab here, okay? And this is the app. Now on the unit itself, I've got cab here, but you can't shut this off, right? This isn't a clickable knob. And if I turn it all the way to the left, all it's gonna do is select the first cab. But here, you can actually get rid of the cab itself. And then that way, you know, if you just want the amp without the cabinet simulation, for instance, if you're going into an amp, you might not want to emulate a speaker going into another speaker. So you could just use, you know, the head or the head simulation and not the cabinet. So I'm going to turn that back on for now because we're going into my sound card, so it's fine. The first thing you're going to see here is an Ampog 20D amp. That is not a typo. This is for copyright purposes. So it's an Ampeg simulating a Portaflex 20, right? This is a B18. That's also simulating a Portaflex. This is an SVT. This is simulating probably the hybrid SVT, the one with a tube preamp and a solid state power amp. This is valve. It says Ampog SVT valve. So this is probably the classic all tube SVT. Mark bass, it, you know, obviously spelled wrong, like I said. This is a 500 series, right? 501. Aquila is going to be Aguilar. All right, so just in case, a 750 CL. If you know Aguilar, you'll know what this means. 750 CL2 and a 751. And lastly, one called Baser Crunch. Anyway, you get the idea. All right, as for the cabinets here, you have an SV810, which is going to be an 8x10 SVT cabinet, mic'd with a U47, which is a Neumann microphone, if you don't know. That's what it's, this is a model of that, right? This is a model of the same cabinet mic'd with a Royer 121, which is a ribbon mic. And this is the same cabinet mic'd with a Shure 7B or SM7B. These are Harkey cabinets. This is, you know, with a U47 again, an SM7B, and this is the Royer 121. Now here's a Harkey over here. This one is mic'd with a 421, so it's a Sennheiser microphone. Again, these are all models, right? The amp section may be the place where you find your most use. You know, if you want just like a cool sounding amp sound in your headphones or going into your computer or whatever. Right now I'm starting from the top. I've got an Ampog 20D, right? So this is like the Portaflex 20D. And I'm gonna go into an 810 SVT cabinet mic'd with a U47. I'm using just the P pickup on this right now. Now obviously I'm breaking up a little bit, which is cool because it's amp distortion, right? I've got the gain to 52. So if I crank this, I'm gonna get more like modeled amp distortion, right? Like at 90 or 100, let's say 100%. Yeah, it's a lot, right? Let's do it 50% gain. Right, without a pick. Right, I can make this less dirty just by taking the gain down. If I just do back pickup on this, let's see if I get a good back pickup sound with just a little gain. Oh, the cool thing about the amp that I didn't mention is that on the unit, it just says mid, right? But here, I can choose the mid frequency. I don't know if you can see it, but you can choose the mid frequency as opposed just to mid, right? So this is what it sounds like right now with my back pickup. But let's crank the mids first of all. But I can change it to this, right? Which is 200 hertz. It notches, right? So this is 400. That's where it was. I can also make it 800, which is a higher mid, or 1.6, right? So I'm gonna say that 400 is pretty cool. You can goose your bass up, your treble, whatever. Let's give it a little more highs, a little more lows. See what happens. Let's take the gain down even more. I can also just change the cab. This is the U47, so that's a tube mic. So the Shure 7B, for instance, micing this SVT 810 cabinet is going to sound a lot different than the U47. There's very different microphones. The U47 being tube and the SM7B not being tube. Here's with just the P pickup. Right, and here's the U47. You can hear a lot more of that like tube warmth in the sim. There's so many options, I can't go through all of them. Let's go between the SVT4, which is probably like an SVT Pro, like I said, probably hybrid, and the SVT Valve, which would be all tube, and just hear the difference. Let's keep the cabinet as the SVT 810, but we'll use the sim of the Royer 121 miking it. Right, let's change this to the Valve SVT head now. It's a lot different, right? So you're hearing like that tube bottom in this, in the sim. We can change all the parameters. Right now the bass on this is at 65. I'm gonna take that down because it's very bassy. I can also take the gain up, and since it's a more high-powered amp, it's not gonna break up like that 20 watt amp did in the sim, right? That thing was like basically distortion. This isn't gonna break up as much unless I really pound into it. Maybe I'll try with a pick. Okay, actually it's still pretty clean. Now I've chosen a Markbass 501 through a Harkey cabinet, which definitely will be brighter than the SVT, at least in theory. And that's mic'd by U47, so let's see. Oh yeah, it's definitely brighter. Definitely. let's try an Aguilar rig now. So this is the 750 CL, and we're using an Aguilar cabinet mic'd with the U47. All right, let's see what we can do with the EQ. Let's take the bass up and the treble up and see what we can get. All right, more bass, more treble. Let's take the gain up. All right, let's take the volume down with it. All right, let's try not slapping. Let's try to take the bass down and the treble down to 70-ish. All right, let's change the amp to the Aguilar 751. So this is with both pickups up. Now that's with the U47 cabinet. Let's change it to the 7B. It's just way different, right? And let's hear it with the 121. So there's just like a million options. You can just mix and match every amp and go wild. All right, I'm almost done with this because I can't go through them all like I said, but let's try the one that says Basser Crunch. Oh, hell yeah. This is gonna be high gain. Oh, wow. All right, well, you can see there's some options here. We've got gain, which is 75. What's it like at 100? Let's try that with less gain. Look, I could keep trying this for hours because I'm having fun, but we have to move on with this review. So let's try the compressor section. For the amp, I'm using a Mark-Bass 501 into an Aguilar cabinet, mic'd with a Shure 7B. So it sounds like this. It's a pretty neutral sound. Right? So let's see what the compressor does. So I'm going to set my attack pretty quick because it's a bass and it's a percussive instrument. You can do what you want to do. Right now I'm going to set it quick. I have it at like 8. I can still hear it pretty hard, right? So this is my threshold, which is when it kicks in, right? So if I put it down here, I can barely play it and it's gonna kick in. But I want it to happen only when I get louder, so it evens my tone out. That way if I dig in, it won't get any louder, right? But if I play soft, it's not getting affected. So my ratio is how much it's gonna compress. Let's keep that around here so it doesn't go too crazy. So I have my attack at 8, my threshold at 69 at the moment, ratio at 64, level at 54, and this is what it sounds like without my compressor first. Right, and this is with it. It's pretty loud, right? So let me try to match my volume a little more. I'm gonna turn my level down. Still too loud. Let me try this. That's close. All right, maybe I'll give it a little boost. I'll do it 28. Now, I'm going to see what this sounds like, right? Right, without it. You can hear the compressor, right? The last thing in the chain here is the noise gate. It's the last thing on the unit too. If I just crank that knob up, I'll get it. You know, if you have some hiss in your signal and it's really low, you can set the threshold just to get rid of that. Obviously, you can put all these effects together, meaning that I can have a reverb or a phaser together, both a one reverb and one phaser with my amp plus compression and a gate if I wanted to use all of them. You can't use more than one reverb or more than one phaser, but you can choose one from each category. Make sense? There's a couple more things I want to show on this app. First of all, down here, there's a battery indicator, so you can see that my battery is, I don't know, 60, 70%. If you look at the top, there's a gear icon, so the settings. You can see that I can turn off cabinet sim globally, meaning that if you just don't want cabinet sim on at all, you could turn it off globally and just play into the amp and you'll never have to deal with it. But you could just turn it off the other way, like I showed you earlier as well. You also have input gain and OTG gain. The input gain, obviously, if you have a really hot signal coming into this unit and you want to dull it down, I guess you could mess with that. I certainly don't need to with my instruments here, but if you need to, it's there. The OTG gain is, again, the USB on-the-go gain, so going to your computer or phone or whatever. You can see that I have Bluetooth audio turned on. It's turned on by default. Now it also has light setting, which is an important one. Now I don't care that much about the lights and what they look like, but if it bothers you, one of the colors, you can change them. And now for a big one. And you see there's a question mark right here. You click that and there's a manual. It's here. Select preset, right? You can get into this, edit and save. There's different categories, effects module section, all that. It's there, it's been there the whole time, but no one told us to look there. So it would be cool if FLAMMA in the future helped people get to the right pages and, you know, figured out where the manual is and stuff like that. But if you're watching this video, you now know. If you look here, you can see this cloud icon and the upload icon. And that represents the FLAMMA cloud, which is a place where users can upload presets for this thing and you can download presets. It's kind of like a community. So yeah, I didn't go too far into the drum machine. Like I said, you have 40 grooves. I typically don't use the drum machines on these units. They're okay, you know, if you want them or if you need them. I just use Bluetooth, right? So I get a groove going on my phone. I have cool apps like Drum Genius. I'm not affiliated anyway, but that's a good one. I've got cool metronomes. There's grooves on YouTube that I play to if I want to do something. Also, I didn't get into saving presets, but that's a pretty straightforward process. Once you find the sound you want, you have your amp, your modulation, or whatever you want. You can save it to one of these buttons on here, you know, A, B, C, or D in one of the groups, right? And you can do it easier in the app, just like everything else. So you go to this little pencil, the edit button, you save it, it asks you where to save it, what group, and on what, on A or B or C or D. All right, so you might notice I have a different shirt on. That isn't because I spilled anything on my old shirt. It is a day later, and I went through all the footage, you know, that I just filmed, and I wanted to hear what this thing sounded like before I gave my final thoughts. So what are my final thoughts? I think FLAMMA did a great job making a very inexpensive unit that does a lot. And I think the FB200 can be used in a few major ways. First, I could see this thing being used as a really cool practice tool and like a headphone amp on steroids. It's small, it's light, it could fit in your gig bag. It has 6 hours of battery life. You could use the drum patterns if you want. You could use Bluetooth to bring anything in like I discussed. You could tweak your tone any way you want with all the parameters. And like I said, you can use it without power, right? Because it's rechargeable. So you can use it anywhere you want. The second way I could see this thing being used is as a portable sound card or just a way to get sounds in a small home studio. So if you're on a budget and you have any DAW, right? Any recording software, and you want to get some cool bass sounds and you don't have any other way to do it, this is a great way to get, you know, some cool tweakable sounds into your rig. Also, like I said, it has USB OTG, so you can connect this thing as a sound card and have everything available in your DAW as well. Lastly, you could use this live if you're on a budget for sure. Again, it's very tweakable. You can make presets. It has 6 hours of battery. You could always plug it in via USB-C cable if you're worried about the battery running out too. I have a lot of pedals and stuff here already, so I wouldn't be using it for that purpose, but I could see myself using this casually because you could just fit it in your gig bag and have it around, and then if you want to jam with some friends or do whatever, it would definitely work in a situation like that. So in summary, I do really like this thing, and I think they did a very good job making something affordable that can do a lot. Like I said before, I do think FLAMMA should either have a manual or some kind of QR code that links you to some manual explaining how to use this thing so people aren't confused when they get it. But it is all there in the app, you know, once you open it up. And about the app, yeah, you need the app to get the most out of this unit. That's what I said right in the beginning of this video, and that's definitely true. But I like the app. It was very responsive, stable, it didn't crash. It worked well and immediately changed the parameters of the pedal. So I have no problem working this thing through the app. Anyway, that's it for now. So if you liked the video, please like the video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do, because that helps us create more videos. And lastly, that's it for now. See you next time.